That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther.
For sound bites. This is awesome.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Anti-Religious Scripture Study with Karen B. and Just Jack Flat Earth. This
Shabbat
is
Shalom.
episode 9. How are you doing, Jack?
I am well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Is the mic working okay?
Yes, you sound good.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
Yes, all right. So everything should be good as this sound, so give me a 5x5 chat if sound is good and we can get started. I think we are good though.
QQ.
All right. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Jack, if you want to go ahead and do your disclaimer.
All right, will do. For those who want to spiral. No, I'm just kidding. Just Jack's disclaimer to the religious. If you believe it's wrong to study scripture outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scripture shouldn't be studied at all, then this stream is not for you. To others, if you are open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind up about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion but believe there's truth in scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture and like to dig in and discover more, then this stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for root words as well as context from a non-religion perspective, as well as life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show the religious contradictions to scripture. There you go.
All right, right on. Thank you. All right, so we have made it up to Genesis 17.
And this is a super spiral show.
Super spiral show. I might even spiral during this. You never know.
Could be. Could be.
Because I have one child that is not circumcised and one that is. And if it were up to me, neither one of them would have been. So
right.
I'm interested to see what this says, actually.
Yeah, so just like for perspective, if you are not committed to the idea that scripture is like actual instructions from the creator, like if you're not fully committed to that idea, then you absolutely should not do that in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going through the motions just because you think it should be done because just in case, then there's no point. The whole idea is to try to figure out what it is that the creator wants according to scripture and then applying it if that applies to you. So, I tell people, people who say that they don't believe in scripture, like, one of the things in the list of people who says, well, it's not even real, you shouldn't even study it. Well, then this isn't for you. If you're actually wondering what scripture says about the situation, and it's definitely a different parallel to religion. Religion and the scriptures do not go hand in hand. They just don't. People who think that they do obviously haven't read it before. That's all I'm saying about that. So if you want to get started, and then I'm sure we're going to have a lot of discussion.
All right.
But we'll just get started.
Okay, I was just muted for a second because Remington was barking.
I heard him. Yep.
I think he stopped. All right. All right. Okay, so here we go. And it came to be when Avram was 99 years old that Yehovah appeared to Avram and said to him, I am El Shaddai, walk before me and be perfect.
Yeah, so El Shaddai is translated as the Almighty a lot of times. And El means mighty one. You could say that. It's a strong leader.
Mm-hmm.
But Shaddai means that which can destroy. So the strong leader destroyer. So, it's like if if Yah is for us, who can be against us is in the scripture. It's like he's got your back type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing is, it says that Yehovah appeared to Avram. So it actually says that Avram saw Yehovah. Now, what does that mean? How did that look? It doesn't describe it here. There's sometimes in the scriptures, which we're going to see in a little while, that Yah can appear before man as human. And people have a problem with that. We talked about this last week, I think, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That it's hard for people to, understand that it's possible. But if
because it
he
was a
created
messenger.
everything-
Last one, there was a messenger, but it was.
Yeah.
It said of God, but it was the messenger God.
Yehovah. Yeah.
Right.
So, people have this hard idea of him becoming a smaller entity, but it's like, if he can create everything, why not? It's not going to be the entirety of the creator, but it's going to be the creator in a physical form. And it doesn't have to be Jeebus. I'm just saying, though.
Right. Obviously, well, he's already shown up in a physical form, not as Jesus, because Jesus hasn't even shown up yet.
Right. But if you talk to some people, they do what's called exegesis and eisegesis, where they take different theological concepts and they shove it into the scriptures. So, like, anytime they see the creator in a physical form, that's Jesus. That's absolutely Jesus, the guy who walked on water and all that jazz. They absolutely believe that.
Okay.
But that's a theological premise, it's not in the text. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. It's just another one of them, another place where they're inserting their own translation into it.
Exactly.
They're changing it.
Exactly. Yeah, even if it doesn't say it, that's how they read it.
Mm-hmm. All right,
go ahead.
Okay. And I give my covenant between me and you, and shall greatly increase you. And Avram fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations.
All right, pause there for a second and go to the notes and look at the word for nations. Oh, I don't have it transliterated there, so you're going to have to go to the HSBR. You can use any HSB, but
Mm-hmm.
I did the name correction on HSBR.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at nations, what's that last word right there in the gray?
Goyim.
Uh-huh. So what is that? You've heard that before, right?
Right.
So the goy, the Jews use that term as an insult to anyone who's not Jewish, right? And I emphasize on the ish, right? They basically say that anyone who is a goy is a non-believer in the creator, and if they're not Jewish, then they're a non-believer in creator as well. But goy simply means nation or group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Israel is called goy later in the scriptures, and right here it says Abraham will be the father of the goyim. So why are the Jews saying, oh, Abraham's the first Jew, which that doesn't make any sense either, but now he's the father of the goyim, not of the Jews? I'm just saying though.
Mm-hmm.
They should read their own book to see that, the goyim is not necessarily, someone who doesn't believe in the creator. In fact, that's a horrible translation to say that's what goyim means. Because right here, Abraham is the father of the goyim.
Mm-hmm.
And they claim that, he's the father of Judaism as well, which, whatever.
Yeah.
We won't get into that. But anyway, for FYI, for people who are new to this chat, I don't use the term God because God is the name of the prosperity deity of Babylon, age 1408, 1409 in the Strong's Concordance. God is the Babylonian deity of fortune. So I don't use God. I use the short form typically of Yah, which everybody knows from Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you're
Okay.
on verse 5 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no longer is your name called Avram, but your name shall be Avraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations.
Right. And it's the father head of them. So
Okay, so that's the difference between Avram and Avraham. What the hell
Yep.
just dropped? Oh, my phone.
Avram is lifted father, and Abraham is father head of them.
Okay. I was wondering what the difference was and why. Okay, now I know.
It
Good.
gets a little more confusing to me when Sarah's name gets changed, because it's still basically the same definition, but it went from Sarai to Sarah. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. So
Okay. And I shall make you exceedingly fruitful, and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you.
okay, there again we have goyim, and exceedingly. Whenever it says exceedingly, or anything like that, where it's emphasized in the scriptures version, it's because it has the same word twice. So it's actually in much, very, much, very. So it's very, very fruitful, right? And make the goyim of you, and sovereigns. I kind of like that translation, because it could be king, it could be what do you call it, pharaoh, it could be prime minister, whatever. It's the leader, the boss man.
Right. Well, and everybody should be the leader of themselves.
I
right?
agree.
So
100%.
that's
yeah.
also why I like that word.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be Elohim to you and your seed after you.
Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Right. Yeah, that pretty much.
If people don't know, covenant means contract.
Right. And I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim.
And what does sojourner mean? Do you remember?
It means like when you take a break.
Yep.
Vacation?
It's like a well, yeah, it can be.
But
it's basically you dwell there, but you don't occupy there.
Right.
Right, so that's where you're living, but that's not your land.
Wherein that you are a stranger. Right.
Yep.
Sojourn.
And I just translated as dwell, not occupy.
Dwell. Traveler. Okay. Traveler. Yep. All right. Okay. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you, throughout their generations.
Yep.
This is my covenant, which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you is to be circumcised.
Yep. All right, so male is the mentioned remembrance. So that's supposed to be like something that you mention and remember. The circumcision here means to cut off the front or the first. And the reason that this was done, like historical context here, in the Near Middle Eastern cultures, child sacrifices was a normal daily experience. When their deities, and it's not their deities, but it's the priests of their deities, required child sacrifices for any kind of prosperity, aka prosperity god, So this is him saying that I'm not going to require the entire person, but just the foreskin. And I find something interesting, just like some strange thing that I was watching a video the other day, and there was these Japanese folks, and they were talking about foreskin, right? Now, Japanese folks do not circumcise. That's not a thing. Why is there a specific term for foreskin in the Japanese, right? Like they have a word for, genitalia, penis, whatever, but yet there's a different term for the foreskin, as if the foreskin does not belong to the penis, right? As if it's something extra. I'm just saying though.
Well, it could also just be a part. I don't know, how graphic do you want to get? But there's names for other parts of it that you don't cut off. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I'm just saying, like, I find it interesting that there's actually a word for the skin, right? There's skin everywhere.
Uh-huh.
But they have that skin part with a specific name.
Well,
which is
there's
I find that
specific
interesting.
names for skin parts of my parts too,
Okay,
but
I'll,
we don't
I'll
cut
give
them
you that.
off.
But I'll
But I'm not a man child.
right. The other thing that you know,
We'll say that.
I come at it from a philosophical perspective, but I've already committed to the scriptures being truth, so I already have my own understanding of this.
Hmm.
And for me, it's like, it's exposing the head. The head is not hidden, right?
Hmm.
But that's philosophical. That's not in the scripture. It's like
Okay.
uncovering the head and exposing it to the Creator.
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. That's just weird.
It is.
I'm sorry, but that's weird.
I understand, but it's a cultural difference that has made it weird to us, right? If it was something that was done generation after generation, no matter where we came from, it would just be it's what is done. But when we're talking about this, when it talks about, circumcising the foreskin, it doesn't say anything about having a group of people watch the ceremony, right? It says nothing about a dude like going down to clot the blood with their own mouth and stuff like that. There's none of that there.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole ritualistic thing that has gone into Judaism that is completely different from this circumcision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who is this commandment being given to, the circumcision here?
To Abraham?
Abraham. So if you ask the Jews who the circumcision is, they'll say it's the circumcision of Moses. But later we're going to find out that Moses didn't even circumcise his children. His wife had to do it because he was Egyptian, right? He had a mindset that, we don't do that in Egypt. So his wife was like, now you've made yourself a husband of blood because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. But this whole thing about like changing from, complete child sacrifice to dedicating your children to the Creator by a piece of skin. And physiologically, physiologically, at that 8th day is the transition stage of the water child to the air breathing child, if you know what I mean. So like your lungs are developing and your umbilical cord is falling off and all that jazz. So like on the 8th day, like there's supposed to be like, that's like supposed to be the end of the changeover of being a water baby to an air baby. And allegedly the nerve endings are not as sensitive in that time. I'm just saying. But yes, it's one of those things where it's like, if you try to wrap your head around it, like as a physical human being, why would he do this? It's very hard to understand in this culture, in this time. It's very vilified these days. Back in the day, it used to be propped up, circumcision. It used to be common and it used to be suggested and everything else. But now it's like they use words that are very aggressive towards it, like you're mutilating your child and stuff like that. And it just, if you think about it, how this culture is actually trying to go against the scripture every step of the way, that why would they fight so hard against this now? It's just like, why are they pushing so much other stuff that is anti-scriptural? It's because they can now. People are getting so disconnected from the scripture and trying to connect to the Creator, and of course, as well as I do, that any change to your body can change you, not just physically, but it can change you spiritually. So there may be another connotation there where this physical change changes your signal, your frequency somehow. Yes, I agree. Everything that the rabbis do is very disgusting. The rituals that they do. Yes.
Okay, so what's this say? And a son of 8 days is circumcised by you, every male child in your generations who is born in your house or bought with silver from any foreigner who is not of your seed.
Right. So that means if if you go into a nation and you conquer them and you take them as prisoners, as servants of your house, you can hold them up for 7 years. Then you have to let them go free. And if they choose to stay to be your servant because they like your household or whatever, then they get a piercing to dedicate themselves. But there's also when a foreigner is in a financial situation where you can hire them, and they're not called hirelings, they're called servants, because you live in the house and you work for them, right? You pay silver for them as an income. But the thing is like there was also the situations where people were selling people into slavery, right? That was still going on back then as well. So this is saying, like, if this person has joined themselves to your house, right, even if you've bought him by silver, even if he's a what's it called, a bond servant, and he wants to join himself to your household, he has to be circumcised so that they can join in the covenant.
Okay.
This is again saying it doesn't matter if they're born of Israel or not, which is, the Jews all about bloodline and whatnot. But this is actually talking about someone who is not born in your house when it says bought with silver. That's the distinction there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your silver has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And an uncircumcised male child who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant.
Yeah, and the cut off from his people kind of sounds like kill him, but it doesn't. It means like he's not part of the covenant. He's not part. He's not connected.
It's just weird, though.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird. I mean, why? Okay, it just says foreskin, but does it?
Yes, it means foreskin.
How do you know it's of the penis, though? Part of the male organ that is removed in circumcision.
Yeah, so the uncircumcised, the ones who don't get them, are called foreskins. So like the other nation who is an enemy, like when they went to fight against the Philistines, they were called the foreskins. The Philistines who are the foreskins, yeah.
This is so weird to me. Why? I just don't understand why. It's just weird.
Of course. It's weird. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it and say, oh yeah, I totally know why he does it. No, I just, I know in my perspective, the scriptures is true and there's something to it. It's just like the whole thing about what you should or should not eat, right? Some people are like, well, why? Right? Other people are like, because of your health. And then the people are like, well, our bodies take care of themselves, don't they? So people are trying to, say, well, I'm not going to do this because I don't understand why. The same thing goes for, the Sabbath or anything else like that, where you're not going to understand the concept of it until you're involved in it, right? If you're an outsider looking in, it's not going to make any sense. It's just like, okay, this is not as extreme of a circumstance, obviously. But if a globe earther is looking at a flat earther, they're like, why would you believe in that and why would they lie? Right? Rather than investigating it and applying it to see if what is being spoken is true. Now, my son, my adopted son, we had him for, 10 years and never required him to get a circumcision. But when he was 14 years old, he decided that he wanted to be circumcised, because he read the scriptures and he's like, I think I should be circumcised. So when he decided to do that, I was pleased that he made that choice, but it was his choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's different, of course. If I had a child today, a son, when he was 8 days old, I would have him circumcised. I just would, because I would dedicate my son to the Creator and saying, hey, keep him in your will. I'm dedicating him to you with this mark in his skin, right?
Okay.
And I can't explain why. I cannot explain why. And people are spiraling in chat, of course, because they're talking about the New Testament stuff, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is that if you did not understand who Paul was, who was a Jew, and he had to distinguish between Judaism and the scriptures, when he finally did that, he says, I consider all Judaism dung, and that the circumcision that they were doing was wrong, but he had his disciple, Timothy, circumcised, who was a Greek, because he understood the importance of it. So, I can see the spiral going. I knew it was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which the fathers were not able to bear, is based on Judaism and Talmud. Look it up.
Okay.
And if it is blah, 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 if you don't like hearing it, please go away. It's fine. No, I am all for circumcision. I am not against it.
He's for it, yeah.
Yes.
I thought you said that.
Yeah, I don't understand why there's a question here,
I don't know.
And I'm not trying to backpedal and make excuses. The Creator asks some things in the scripture that doesn't make sense to you until you do it. Honestly, I mean, think about it. Like, the Sabbath thing is completely foreign to us. But if you think about it just a little bit, one day off where you're not having to worry about anything is an awesome blessing. And the other day, Yom HaKippurim, from the outside looking in, oh, you have to have a day with not eating? That's so deranged, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But then when you actually do it, when you take 24 hours and you're inspecting yourself, you want to call it meditation if you want, you do a self-inspection of you and the Creator, it's powerful. You have metaphysical experiences, in my own experience. But it's not something that you could explain to somebody. And Karen, I know you've had experiences that you can't explain to someone until they experience it for themselves.
Right.
So it's like that. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Agreed. All right. Anyway.
Okay, moving on.
I knew the spiraling was going to happen. And look, there's people that are coming from a New Testament perspective where they think the Old Testament is done away with, blah, 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 blah. And they use Paul as an example, even though Paul every time said that, should we then do away with the Torah? And he says, Yah forbid. So look up these people who are still believing that Paul is against the Torah. Go in your King James Version and look up everywhere where Paul says, God forbid. Because most of those times he's saying, should we then get rid of the Torah? And he says, Yah forbid. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. All right, moving on. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name.
Right. So Sarai and Sarah are very, very similar. So Sarai means my prince or princess, mm-hmm. and Sarah means female princess, basically.
Okay.
So maybe it went from my princess to princess. Maybe that's what it is.
All right. And
that's the only thing I could distinguish between the two. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. And I shall bless her, and also give you a son by her, and I shall bless her, and she shall become nations, sovereigns of peoples are to be from her.
Right. And nations again is goyim. And the other thing is Sar should sound familiar it means like prince or princess, right? Sar and Sarah. So have you ever heard of a tsar? Tsar?
Mm-hmm.
So that, you can see words like that just like traveling through time. It's very interesting stuff.
Okay. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, "Is a child born to a man who is 100 years old, or is Sarah, who is 90 years old, to bear a child?" And Abraham said to Elohim, "Oh, let Yishmael live before you."
So Yishmael is already born to him through the servant of Sarah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, well, obviously I'm too old to have children, so you must be talking about this child, right? Not the one that Sarah. You're saying Sarah's child by extension, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Elohim's going to answer differently. And by the way, people in chat, if you're going to spiral on me about Mandela and Scripture, this is not the place for that. Seriously, like, I understand your perspective on that, but I know a lot of things that were allegedly in Scripture that were taught to me from pastors that was actually a lie, that they've never been in there, and they just teach it as so because they lie. Moving on.
All right. And Elohim said, "No, Sarah your wife is truly bearing a son to you, and you shall call his name Yitzhak, and I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant with his seed after him."
And it's actually Yitzchak.
Yitzhak. Okay.
Chak.
Yitzhak.
The H dot is that,
Right. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. See, I shall bless him and shall make him fruitful and greatly increase him. He is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation.
Right. So this is one of those Hebrewisms, poetic, where they'll use two Hebrew words that sound very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
So Yishmael means hear, right? Hear El, right? He hears El. And he says, I have heard you, right? Hear and hear. So it's Yishmael Shema Tika. So Shema is there twice. If you look at down below on verse 20, click your notes thingy. So if you see far right, top row, second group of Hebrew letters there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. If you look at the second to fourth letter, Shin, Mem, Ayin, you'll see that in the next grouping.
Wait, what?
Okay,
Oh,
so remember
right
to go
here.
right to left.
Okay,
there you go.
there.
So those letters, are in the next grouping, right?
there.
So
Okay.
he's using the same word, Shema,
Okay.
which means hear, obey.
Okay.
And he's going to bring forth 12 princes.
Right.
Let's see. This is not princess. This is Rav. So the increase, the master, the ruler. You should check that out.
Which one is this?
I think it's princess. Yeah, right there.
Princes.
And display it.
Mm-hmm. Under which one? Ancient?
I see Nasi. Maybe it's not the word princess there. Yeah. Oh, it's probably in that grouping, the two great, they're exceeding great. Hold on. Now I got to pull up my version so I can see it.
It says NASA.
Yeah, Nasa, to lift up and to deceive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's saying lift up. That's not saying princess. So that's why I'm
Right.
confused here.
Let me see.
Oh, I'm on the wrong verse. Duh. Sorry, guys. So, and master rule I do. For Ishmael. Okay, so multiply. And then Next one is...
It's
It's in here twice. Yeah, so multiply is actually increase or master.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one that is princess is lift. Okay, you're right. So that's lift of the first or head of them. That's what that one is. And of course, if you click on that, if you look down below, change it to the Hebrew Interlinear. That way you can see what's going on there. Sorry.
The Hebrew, what?
No, the version. HSB.
HSB, okay.
Yeah. Now, if you look at where it says multiply,
Okay,
you
here.
can see that's Rav. So if you click on that, that's where the word rabbi comes from, which that's kind of important because rabbi doesn't mean teacher.
Right.
It means master, ruler, increased one.
Oh, here
All
we
right.
go. Yeah, to
But
increase.
princess, if you look over at princess there,
Mm-hmm.
you have the Nisim, which is plural. The purple to the left of princes. There you go. Right, that's a NASA or Nasai, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that right there with the suffix of the aleph mem on the end, it's the head or the first of them. So I will lift you to be the head and first of them.
Okay.
As a
Ruler.
as a captain, chief, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Ruler, leader, lifted up,
Right.
authority type person. All right.
All right.
So that, it's kind of hard to just go with the translation because it just says princess, but princess we already looked at is sar, not nasa. Nasa literally means to lift up, so.
Okay.
Which everybody who, gets in flat earth hears about NASA.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But my covenant I establish with Yitzhak, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year.
Yep. And that appointed time is that same thing that's translated as feast in Leviticus 23, and it's translated as seasons in Genesis 1. It's appointed time. Moed. Right?
Right, yeah.
So that we talked about that a little bit, where they took the word appointment and they changed it to seasons to kind of like make you not think about, okay, what are these appointments that he's talking about? Right? If we just think it's about seasons like spring, summer, fall, and winter, which doesn't even exist in Scripture, there's only 2 seasons in Scripture, then we can just like read right past it. Oh, we know what seasons are. But it literally means appointed times. So there's designated times that the Creator's signal is more tapped into.
All right. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael, his son, and all those born in his house, and all those bought with his silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that same day, as Elohim told him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin.
So he was not a young buck.
No.
99 years old, he took a piece of flint and cut off his own foreskin. That was no easy task, right?
Right.
So he's not doing it because he wants to. But if you heard from the Creator directly, most likely you would do it too.
Well, I can't say that I wouldn't.
Right.
And Ishmael...
when you have an experience connecting with the Creator, and let's say you've been sober for a long time, okay, just to like give that the preface, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you connect with the Creator and you feel like you're tripping balls, you're probably going to pay attention to that. I'm just saying though.
Yeah.
And I've had those experiences. So there's things where I have commandments that are given to me by the Creator specifically that I will not impose on anyone else because it wasn't given to them. It was given to me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Abraham, oh, whoops, I skipped one.
25.
And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin.
All right, so I think there's something interesting here. I think this is where Jews get that whole transition into a male thing. You know, they have that big celebration where they transition to a man at
Right.
13 years old. The scripture says that a man is counted at 20, and this is the only place where it's where there's a different age that is mentioned for a male, and this is, you know, the only time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I think they just extrapolated at this verse. Well, that day Ishmael was made a man, you know, by circumcision, you know. So that's a huge like leap to have. You know, we're gonna have this turning into a man party at 13.
Mm-hmm. So weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised that same day. And all the men of his house, born in his house or bought with silver from a foreigner, were circumcised with him.
There you go. So I didn't translate all of 18. I'm almost done with it, but I've been spending a lot of time translating all from 17 through 50.
Mm-hmm.
So it's taking me time for me to go through because some of the Hebrew characters, like a prefix and a root word, are similar to a different root word. So I have to make sure that their correct words are being translated and whatnot. And this is like, you know, it took me a long time to translate Genesis 17, but because of that, there's so much more translated. In fact, I'm going to share screen here in a second. Let me pull it up here to show you what it is I'm working on.
Okay, let me stop sharing for you then.
And again, people, if you don't think that the scriptures applies to you, then don't worry about it. I'm not telling you to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't express that enough. There's no way that I can try to convince you of something that doesn't make sense in our physical mind. But that doesn't mean that you have to come after me and saying, oh, well, that's evil, that's demonic, that's blah, 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 blah. Look, you don't know. You've never gone through the same experiences I've gone through when I applied these things. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes. So hold on.
Okay.
Let me turn it on for everybody else. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so when I translated Genesis 17, and these, the reason that there's a percent or division sign in red is because you can actually import these notes into eSword, and I don't know if I'm sharing the whole screen, so you might not be able to see it. But anyway, when I click on a verse, it automatically pops up. So I'm going to stop sharing and resharing to make sure I share the whole screen here. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, I think I'm right. Okay. Tell me if you can see other pop-ups besides the... Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's say I go over here into my internet. And then I type in, like, let's say Exodus 21, right? So I can copy this and push my little cheat code in here, and it actually opens up eSword to that verse. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a cool little tool that, you know, I found. But that's what this does right here. This format makes it so I can link it into my notes in eSword. So anyways, if you see, I only translated Genesis 17, and I only translated 4 verses into 18. But then if you look down, everything that's in English that's translated here are words that were translated because of translating just chapter 17. By translating chapter 17, it gets translated further on throughout the scriptures because the same words keep popping up. You see all the English words?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not that many untranslated Hebrew words. So the more I do this, the faster it's going to be, for future episodes.
Awesome.
So I'm going through the extra effort, and my wife thinks I'm like going crazy because I'm spending hours and hours and hours on this. Like, I do this all day. That's all I've been doing is translating Torah all day, So, yeah. Yes, the true name of the first book is called Bereshit, not Genesis. Okay, so I agree. Yes, Janus is the two-headed goddess of time. So the two-headed goddess looks to the past and to the future. That's why they call the first month January, off of Janus. So, yes, that's true. Sorry, saw it in chat.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I like stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's
Mars is from Mars, the god of war.
Yeah, I knew that one.
I don't remember them all. I used to know them all. July is after Julius Caesar, and August is from Caesar Augustus. They shoved themselves into the scripture, which moved all the months by 2 months. So after July, Julius, and August, Augustus, then comes Septa, which means 9, but it's 7. Octa, which means 8, which is 10. Nove, which means 9, is 11. And Deca, which means 10, is 12. So they moved all the months 2 months by them shoving themselves into the calendar. It's crazy.
Huh.
The Julian calendar. That's how that whole thing started.
Interesting.
But I mean, you can even still hear, the original month numbers within that.
Within what? Within July and August?
Yeah, July, August, Septa, Octa, Nove, Deca.
Mm-hmm.
So you can hear, that's 7, 8, 9, 10.
Right.
But they changed it to 9, 10, 11, 12.
Right.
And then they made the first month Janus, which is the two-headed goddess looking to the past and the future. Which January doesn't start a month. It doesn't start a year. It's in the middle of the night, in the middle of the winter.
Right.
It makes no sense at all.
Which is why I did the solar return when
exactly.
I did it.
And the solar return just coincidentally lined up with Passover that year. That's just a coincidence, though. I'm just saying. Just like Flattoberfest, is at the time of Sukkot, which is a week-long camping festival. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. As far as the Mandela effect goes, I am Mandela affected about a lot of stuff, but as far as scripture goes, it's based on ignorance. Like, ask Jesus into your heart in the Bible. Try to find Lucifer is a worship leader. Try to find obey the law of the land. All these things that I heard in church that don't exist. And forgive us our debts and trespasses are two different references in the New Testament. And when I went to a Lutheran church, we used to read forgive us our trespasses, but we used to sing forgive us our debts every day. We did that every day.
That's weird.
And it's because it's just passed down from generation to generation. So if one person translates it wrong and they teach their lackey to translate it wrong, guess what's going to happen? They're just going to repeat the nonsense.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at this. Isaac's birth promised. So this...
Yes, the difference between religion and what we are doing is that the religions make up their own rules. They do not go according to Scripture. None of them. None of them. Religious is man-made. It's their way of trying to approach the Creator rather than what their scriptures entail. And I don't just mean the Hebrew scriptures. All religions do it, where they have their basic text, but then they go off of their text to make their own little rules so they can have more control.
Yeah.
Like have no authority above you, but yet they want to be your spiritual authority.
So ridiculous. So the next chapter 18 starts with and. So this is a continuation of what was just going on, right?
So it gets confusing with Hebrew with the and, because and is used a lot. Go back to 17 and share your screen with me because I can't see it.
Oh, whoops. Okay, that's right. I forgot I stopped sharing. Here we go. Okay.
Yes, church and state combined a long time ago. Yep, correct.
So,
I agree.
17.
Yep, and then change it to a Hebrew version. Okay, so you see the first Hebrew letter in Genesis 17:27?
Mm.
That vav? That means and.
Okay.
Okay, so scroll up a little bit farther. 17:25. See that first letter? It's a vav. It means and. See 17:24? The first letter there? It's an and. So these are all continues.
Oh, so that like little
That little line
number
there.
one with the two dots under it.
Yeah, the dots are just a vowel point. That doesn't really matter for the and part, but yeah, that vav being the first letter is typically and.
Okay.
So it shows up a lot.
Well, it's right there too, but then it has an underline with but no two dots.
Okay, so let me explain this really quick since you're
And it's here too, and now it has a dot
yes.
and but I don't get it.
So these are vowel pointings, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between that one that you just highlighted and the one underneath it is v and va. So it's v and va. So it's a pronunciation. It's the vowel that's attached to it.
Okay.
Okay, and the one above that with a dot in the middle is u. So it's a different vowel.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother. It would take me a while to give you a lesson on complete Hebrew. It takes a while to learn it. And there are people who say, well, all these letters only have one sound. There was no vowels, da 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 da. But I can show you multiple words that are spelt the same way in Hebrew, but they have completely different meanings. And they, when you read it with the vowel pointings, they sound completely different. But they have completely different meanings that have nothing to do with one another, these Hebrew root words, even though they look the same. So the vowel pointings is the only way to distinguish, except if you're reading it in its context. So if you read it in its context, you're going to see, okay, so right there, no, Sarah truly is bearing you a son, right?
Mm-hmm.
That word son means to build or to add to generations. Hold on. Let me, how did I translate that one? I don't remember what I did there. I know it's a continuation.
Build descendant for child.
There you go. So yeah, continue generations, descendant, same thing. So in that case, we're obviously talking about a descendant. We're talking about a son. But it also means build. Like if you say to build me a house, it would say ben bayit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not saying son me a house, right?
Uh-huh.
But there is a coordination to it because the son was the builder of the family.
Right.
Because upon having the son, the family is being built. The generations are continuing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So that's what, even though the roots are the same and you can coordinate, that's why I like the ancient Hebrew, because you can see how they connect. How does, Ben connect to building a house? Well, the bet means house and the noon means to seed or continue. So continue the house, well, that makes perfect sense to build, and to continue the family, that makes sense.
Right.
So those two things, they mean different things, but they have the same root.
Okay.
Yes, Karen has other shows that talk about Mandela, folks.
Yeah, but this, yeah, right, but this is not about that. But
yes, I know Ed McMahon definitely had to do with the that sweepstakes where he went door to door. I know for sure. That totally was a thing.
Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah, it's that. I used to get the little yellow and brown envelopes in the mail and stuff. Anyway, we're not talking about Mandela here.
Okay.
So, like I said, this is like everything else. It's like, okay, let's say praying, right? If somebody's never prayed before, let's say they've lived as a just a normie. Okay, let's call it that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lived a normie their whole life, never had a spiritual experience. They just go through the motions. They went through school. They got a job. Blah 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 blah. And they've never attempted praying before, right? And I'm not talking about a specific mode or method of praying, but something tragic in his life happens, and he calls out to the Creator and he says, "I don't know if you're real, but if you are, can you take care of the situation?" And then that situation changes. There's nobody that could convince him that that would actually happen until he experienced it for himself. And when he did, nobody can tell him that what he did didn't happen because he experienced it. The same thing goes with the diet. The same thing goes with the Sabbath. The same thing goes with me not shaving my beard. The same thing goes with me wearing tzitzit. The same thing goes with me circumcising my children. Being on the outside looking in, you're never going to understand it. You're just not. And all Karen is doing in this situation is she's trying to get an understanding of it, right?
Yes.
Why does Jack do what he does? And Jack is so much different than the religious people because they just throw insults and tell you how evil you are, rather than going through the scripture and seeing, no, they've twisted a lot of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this specific incident, this is probably going to be the only thing that Karen has problem understanding. Probably. And we've already talked about this. Me and Karen have actually sat down and talked about this for a couple of hours. I have it on video, but I'm not going to share it. Okay? And the reason being is because I know in our culture, in the way that they've raised us to be, we can't understand sacrificing anything to the Creator, period. It just doesn't make sense to us. The only thing we know to sacrifice is what churches have told us. So what does the church tell you to sacrifice to the Creator? Think about churches. What sacrifice did they ask you to make when you go to their...
Money.
There you go. Their whole sacrifice system is based on money, which is God, the prosperity deity.
Right.
So, the one-time giving up of a chunk of flesh, to me, is more affordable than what some of these churches ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as, changing the body, people are saying, you shouldn't do that because it's like changing the body that the Creator's given you. But I've known people who said that have split tongues, piercings, tattoos, gauges, and they're talking to me about you shouldn't change the body that the Creator's given you.
I know, I can't talk about that. That's for sure.
Yeah, same as me. I have tattoos. Now, I regret my tattoos. I kind of wish I didn't have them, but I have them and it doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But I changed what the Creator gave me. And when I felt that, okay, I don't want to change my body anymore, I stopped. So it wasn't like, I felt ultimate guilt. Oh, I got tattoos on my body. Now I'm never going to connect to the Creator, blah, 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 blah. None of that. That's nonsense. That's bullcrap.
Mm-hmm.
Connecting with the Creator is just trying to understand what He wants and apply it to the best of your ability. If it doesn't resonate with you, just hold off.
Yeah.
Until it makes sense to you, until it resonates with you. I didn't change in one day and be like, oh, I'm all Torah, I'm never going to sin again, blah, 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 blah. And these people that are claiming Jesus and not Torah, every time He healed someone, He said, go and sin no more, or it's going to come back 10 times worse. Was He setting them up for failure? No, it was actually a possible thing that you could do. The Bible is not a business, churches are. Again, I don't know why these people are here.
Yeah, I don't
Do
know.
they not understand that this is scripture study? I'm just saying, though.
Yeah. I would agree that churches are the business. Religion is the business. The book itself can't be a business.
And Dire Wolf Bear, it never says anywhere in the Bible to stone a wizard. Okay? You want to show me some English version? Look it up in Hebrew and see what it says.
How can
Because
you
people
consider yourself holy?
people who practice witchcraft in the Torah are those who the term witchcraft literally means to manipulate someone into doing something that they should not do. It has nothing to do with what we call alchemy today. In fact, there's bunches of parts in the Bible that tells you to absolutely do alchemy, and this is how you do it. I'm just saying, though.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, though. You know, there's a lot of confusion because of what churches have said. You know, Karen has got the butt end of it. She's been called a witch on multiple occasions. But I've met Karen in person. I've spent a lot of time with her. She's definitely not a witch. She's never manipulated me to do something I didn't or should not want to do. Ever. Now, we've had some interesting conversations about the metaphysical experience, and I'm not going to hold anything against her because we're coming from experience. Not just from perspective, from actual experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell her, what they commonly call witchcraft today, I think it should be our natural behavior. We should have, you know, dominion over this realm to create our reality as necessary to connect with the Creator. No problem there at all. But you know what they do call witchcraft? If you go back to the translation in the New Testament, pharmakia is the Greek word.
Sorcery.
That's where we get pharmacist, right?
Drug sorcery.
Yes. That's where we get pharmacist, pharmacy, pharmaceuticals. That's not a coincidence, y'all.
We should show people that right now since we're talking about it.
Feel free. She's a pretty witch. Yeah, Karen's not a witch. She's just into the metaphysical, period. And I'm cool with that. Yep, there it is. Merchants, that's another thing. What are merchants?
Merchants? What are merchants?
Yeah, what do
Salesmen?
they deal with? Yeah, so they deal with money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the great men of the earth dealing with money, with sorceries. And what is sorceries?
Sorceries is pharmakia.
And it says right there,
Medication,
medication, pharmacy.
by extension, magic, sorcery, witchcraft.
Right. So let me give you for instance of a real witch, okay? I dated a girl who gave birth to my son, and she used to manipulate me to get me to do things I did not or should not want to do. That was witchcraft. She was totally a witch. And again, Karen's not. But I think all females can be a little witchy sometimes, but so can dudes.
Yeah. And yeah, pretty much. Both sides are capable of being
But that doesn't mean
manipulative.
that they're a witch. They're just dealing with witchcraft, right? They're dealing with manipulating, you know, whether it be holding by physical, what do you call it? Like, I'm going to cut you off if you don't do what I want you to do, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And verbal abuse, physical abuse, you know, all these different ways of manipulation. Using a child against you, that is severe manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened to me. And it's happened to Karen as well.
Oof.
Where they threaten with the children, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get to see them again if you don't blah, 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 blah. That's witchcraft.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, I agree with most of what people are saying in here, you know, about religion, not about the book.
Exactly.
Yeah. To spin off of what Iron Realm says, first off, God is the prosperity deity of Babylon, but we'll just say creator, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The creator is absolute, belongs to no religion, goes to no church. 100% true. 100% true. So, understanding what those words mean is an absolute importance as well. What religion is and what church is.
Yep.
All
right.
Anyway, and yes, religion, education, government, monetary system, these are all witchcraft. And they're all the same. They're all religion. They're all a controlling mechanism. All right.
All right. Okay. So is that good?
Yeah, so somebody said one of the ancient gospels, I forget which one, prophet Jesus said 3 evils is government, doctors, and priests. Yeah, it actually, there's another thing that gets spun around. So Paul said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. But if you look up those 2 Greek words, Yeshua said them earlier, speaking specifically of government and a religious authority. So that's interesting. Let me look for that really quick. Let me point that out, because that's, just to show, churches want to tell you, you have to obey government. You have to obey your religion.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that's bullcrap, and I'm going to show you right now.
Okay. Where does it say that? Obey,
I'm looking it up again. Well, I mean, the thing where Paul is talking about, those who are in government were put there by the Creator and all that other stuff, I think that's, there's a lot of things wrong with the New Testament, but I don't want to get into it. But if you go to Ephesians 6:12 and go to KJV Plus.
Okay, Ephesians.
Which is going to be the New Testament. That means way down in the chapters there. EPH, Ephesians.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it because it's not in alphabetical order, damn it. Oh, here we go.
No.
Ephesians
6:12.
12. All right. Which
For we
version?
wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. That says principalities and authorities, against the world rulers of darkness of this age. World rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. So that's another matter. That's not the principalities and powers. So if you look up principalities and powers there, you have G746 and G1849. So up there in the search, go to search.
Search, where's
It's right
search?
above KJV Plus. It says Bible Cross-Ref search.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Oh crap. I'll give you those numbers again. Hold on. G746 space.
Oh, wait. Whoops. Hold on. I'm not. G.
Okay.
Why is it? Oh, hold on.
By the way, we're going off our pattern here because we're now in the New Testament, which we said we want to do.
Hold on. My keyboard. My wireless keyboard is running out of battery. No wonder. I gotta plug it in real quick. Hold on. It's okay. It'll be fine. I just gotta plug it in. All right. I was wondering. I'm like, it's not
By the
typing.
way, folks, I do not go to a church. Haven't gone to a church since 2013.
All right.
I think.
G746.
Yep. Space. G1849. And search. What? We were just looking at a verse with those. For yours?
Huh?
Oh, go to any words. Go to any words instead of phrase.
Oh, here
There
we
we
go.
go. Okay. Okay, so right there, Matthew 7:29, for he taught them as one having authority. Okay. So authority is the one that is translated as powers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. Look for one that has both of them. Oh, check all words. Check all words. There we go. So these are Yeshua's words, Luke 12:11.
Mm-hmm.
And when they bring you into the synagogues, that's a place of worship, and the magistrates and powers, that's the religious and government authority, take no thought how or what thing you shall answer or what you shall say. In other words, don't worry about prepping your speech, right? Because you're going to be motivated by Ruach, by Spirit, to say what you need to say. So here is he talking about facing demons?
No.
Try to extrapolate in there at all that he's talking about going to outer space and facing demons.
Outer space? No.
I'm just saying, that's the way that churches believe, that they live in, space. I'm just saying. And then read the next one.
And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, so that they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor.
Of the demons, or no, governor.
Governor.
So principality and powers has nothing to do with invisible bad guys. I'm just saying, though. Yep. Just had to throw that in there.
Okay.
This is just another one of those things where I was taught that the Bible said one thing, and then when I looked it up, it said something different.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with Mandela. It just has to do with what pastors teach you and what the book actually says. Like changing alchemy into witchcraft and witchcraft into medicine. Right? That's what they've done.
Arche. Principality rule. Arche. Or archons. That's where that word archons comes from.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting roots to other belief systems within the Hebrew and Greek. So, and it's because they're opposing belief systems, the Hebrew and the Greek, because Hebrew's about action and Greek is about adjectives, or, philosophies, if you will.
All right.
Like you can make up your own stuff. And that's why I said, my philosophy, making sure I was very clear about that. Philosophy is not scripture. But they've turned philosophy into religion, and they say it is so. It's like this.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So I'm ready when you are. I knew there was going to be super spiraling, and we're going to be able to cut up a couple of chapters next week for sure.
All right.
I'm going to be able to, put together a couple of chapters. And I knew there was going to be spiraling in chat because it's like I understand the cultural difference. Like you cannot wrap your head around it. It's impossible. We are not raised to give up anything. People sacrificed animals and their own children to their deities. But when the Creator says, I'm not going to be like those statues that you built to worship, I'm not going to require the entirety of your child, ergo the foreskin.
Right.
And then later, he tests Abraham in this, which we're going to get to in a future stuff.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Or he tried to get him to sacrifice his son. No, dude, you got to get the context, yo.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of Anti-Religious Scripture Study. Hope y'all didn't spiral too bad today.
Yep. And FYI, I'm still available. You can email me justjackflatearth@gmail.com. And don't write me an email to argue with me, to tell me how wrong I am. I've been doing this since 2012, folks. When I find something wrong, according to Scripture, I change what I do. Period. It's been that way. So please do not write to me why I'm wrong. And the other thing is, I'm available if you want some help on studying Scripture, using the application, getting the little plugins that I showed you there, to try to help you look at the book for yourself and not to trust me. Right?
Right.
and I'm willing to take donations because stuff's getting tight around here.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I've been laid off since January. I just had to wear a mask to get a physical to try to work at a factory the other day, and I don't even know if I'm gonna get it.
Ugh.
It's like it's getting crappy here, dude.
I'm so sorry, Jack.
And if you know any engineers who are looking for a good CAD guy, an AutoCAD guy,
There you
I
go.
am really good. I'm really fast, very efficient, and I can do it remotely.
Yes, that's true. Jack is good. He was AutoCAD subject matter expert for Mark Sargent. So
That's correct.
So there you go.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Was it that long ago now? Wow.
Yeah, when I posted the video, I was like, oh, this is my 3rd year anniversary of
Wow.
this video.
That's funny.
It's pretty crazy.
All right.
I was a flat earther since February 2015. All right.
There you go. And then there's links in the descriptions if you want to donate to Jack. His link is in the description, PayPal link. And so we appreciate any and all help. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you get that link and post it into the description?
Well, you sent me, yeah.
In the Skype.
Which link?
I sent it to you this morning at like 3:30 in the morning or something like that.
You sent
Pretty
me...
soon there's going to be a link in the description that
will
give you
study tools?
To my Google Drive, to where you can download different eSword modules and notes and stuff. There you go.
Let me put that in here. I'll add
Yeah.
it.
So a lot of people have been emailing me and they're like, can I get this? Can I get that? And I was like, you know what? I'll just give people access to the Google Drive and then download it. But make sure you read the first PDF first that says read this first, so you know what the different modules are for, because some of them only work with PC, some of them only work for Mac. Stuff like that.
Okay. And I'm going to...
I'm going to Flattoberfest, willing. Not money deity willing.
Yeah. Right.
The email is justjackflatearth@gmail.com. No spaces.
Yes. In the description too, you guys, if you look in the description, click down below where it says show more. Jack's email is there. His links are there. And
I've been getting great emails from people, asking for stuff, and I'm happy to answer them. I love it. I stay busy all week in this stuff now. It's going to be a bummer when I start working and not have as much time getting into this stuff, but, I love it. Use me.
All right. Awesome. Okay. We're wrapping it up. Thanks for being here. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Still flat.
Still flat.